welcome to Metro Talk. I'm Tim Albright for the Vacation in Kent Shuffle. To my left is Pat Gowan. Pat's one of the editors of the Post-Dispatch. Hey, Pat.
Hi, Tim.
To my right is Jim Schrader, the publisher of the Telegraph. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Tim.
Let's get started. The Madison County Auditor Rick Fasten says he's going to refuse a 4% pay raise scheduled to take effect in December. He says that he can't, in good conscience, accept this pay raise because of everyone out of work and the economic conditions. Is this a good start for him not to accept this raise, Jim, or is he just politicking for the next election?
Well, Rick was kind of the bellwether here because the next day after he announced his intentions to refuse the 4% raise, Coroner Stephen Nunn, County Clerk Matt Malucci, and Recorder of Deeds Matt Rice all indicated that they would decline their 4% raises as well. What most people don't know is the salaries are set by the county board like 4 years in advance. So the salaries for these individuals are not decided while they are in office. It's when somebody else is in office. And and I guess in three of the individuals, Matt Malucci and Matt Rice, this would have been the new salary for their last year in office. Rick Fasten will be facing re-election. Whether or not it is good politically, I guess will be up to the voters, and we'll see when the time comes if all these individuals are re-elected. I think what it does indicate is these individuals are willing to share the pain. When you have people laid off at the county level, you have unemployment in the county at least as high as the national average, if not from time to time a little bit higher. For these individuals that make right at $100,000 a year, to take a 4% raise is an extra $50 a week, or excuse me, $80 a week, pardon me, $80 a week, which will not make or break the county, but it's kind of a slap in the face of the taxpayers that are paying these salaries. This will have no bearing, the decision by these four individuals will have no bearing on their successors should they be voted out of office. That doesn't mean that they are obliged to change their salaries one way or the other. So whether or not it was done for political fodder, which of course it was, otherwise the individuals could have quietly just turned down the raises and not issued press releases that said, I'm turning down the raise. Whether or not any long-term effect will come of it or not, I think it does show a willingness to sacrifice some of their own salary that they are entitled to by law, to identify with some of the constituents that are either unemployed or in many more cases underemployed. They've had to take salary concessions at their jobs, they've had to take furloughs, they've been laid off for a period of time. These people have taken hits in their income. These four individuals are willing to step forward and say, okay, I'm willing to make a concession to you and I will do it voluntarily.
So let me be clear about this. So any auditor after Fasten could or would automatically get the 4% increase?
The salary is set by the board, and it was set prior to this term for Fasten. Now, he was reelected, so he was serving in that position when the salary was set, but it's set 4 years in advance. But no, if he were to be defeated in next fall's election, there's no requirement that the person coming in would have to take the 4% concession. They could, just like some of these individuals have refused to participate in the county-funded pension programs, that is their prerogative, but they are entitled to it. So if they are removed from the office, somebody else comes in, they are not beholden to that person. Probably the most known statewide instance of this was when our Senator Deanna DiMuzio was running last time, and she refused the raise, but she was still defeated in that fall election. So it had no bearing on what her successor did or did not make in that office.
Or could receive.
Or could receive.
Pat, Madison County Auditor Rick Fasson says he's going to refuse the 4%. Is this a good thing for him to do, or is it just him politicking for the next election?
He and the others who did this are in about the $100,000 pay range, which means they make 50%, maybe double, maybe even triple what some of their employees make. It's hard times all around. Seems like it's laudatory on a public service point of view. They will face competitors, challengers from the Republican Party, which is the party of the Tea Party, which is the party of less government, lower taxes. So I think you can kind of expect, if you're going to run again for your office, that the other guy may make this an issue, so you're beating him to the draw. So that probably makes sense politically. I have a misgiving about it, and the misgiving I have is I don't think as a taxpayer I want the Republican to say, you know what, I'll do it for 6% less, not 4%, I'll do it for 6%. Then you come back and say, well, okay, I'll make it 8. And when it becomes a bidding war about who's going to do the job for the least money, I think there's a fair rate of pay for the work that's expected. I think if these are fair rates of pay that people are entitled to it to support their families, I don't think it should cut against the candidate who cannot afford to take less money than the job is worth. And frankly, history would show us that underpaid jobs would make it more likely that you're going to get someone who's wealthy and doesn't need the money, and that isn't always in the best interest, or that you got somebody who can parlay the office into revenue under the table. It might actually give you more reason to be corrupt. You can, or at least rationalize that I'm taking the typewriter home because they don't pay me enough. You know, so yeah, it's symbolic. It's nice. It makes no real difference in the budget, and I'm not sure it's all good.
Yeah.
What would have been interesting is if you had every state or countywide office holder come together and say, we're going to do this en masse, and we're all going to turn down.
But again, there's a fair rate of pay for the job, and I'm the guy that's, you guys, your wives all work and mine doesn't or something, and I really can't afford to pay cut. I'm entitled to the money. I kind of hate to see them singled out that way. You know, I think the best thing would be to have them quietly return the money and not even make a ballyhoo about it.
Right. What is also interesting is Board Chairman Alan Dunstan is up for the same 4% raise that's supposed to take effect, I think, December the 1st. His position pays less than these individuals. Matt Rice is in his first term, making in excess of $100,000. Chairman Dunstan is in the $97,005 range or something, which is not a huge difference, but it is a difference, and this is a chair that he's been sitting in several years now.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Audrey Lucchese, and I'm from Alton, Illinois. I love music, and that's why I came to Lewis & Clark. It's been an amazing experience here at Lewis & Clark, working with students that are so talented, coming from all over the area, and they work so hard to follow their dreams. The music faculty at Lewis & Clark they're fantastic, and they're there every step of the way to push you to follow your dreams. One of the unique opportunities that I have had at Lewis & Clark is being able to record my own music with a fellow student here. Being able to record our music has opened doors for us in the music industry. My long-term goal is to finish here at Lewis & Clark and then to transfer to a four-year school and finish my degree in music performance. I would recommend Lewis & Clark to another student because it is definitely a great place to get started and it can open so many doors for you.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
Welcome back to Metro Talk. Pat, the Calhoun County Board, we're setting the budget for the cleaning of all their buildings. They had a budget for $5,200. The person who was the janitor for the Calhoun County made $13,000 a year. There's an obvious difference there. So they have asked him, they've laid him off, and are asking the office holders to clean their own offices to make up for this. This is almost the opposite of the Rick Fasten thing. This is a low-level employee making $13,000 a year. Is this a sign of things to come where they're going to start laying off the lower-level employees and keeping and still paying the lawmakers the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're making? Or should the lawmakers maybe cut back on them on their salaries and still pay the janitor $13,000 a year?
Well, fasten to none of those guys and just send the janitor the piece of their pie. Everybody'd be happy.
But this is Calhoun County, not
I
Madison.
know, different county, but the same principle.
Yeah.
They'll take a check.
Yeah.
You got to tighten your belt. You got to do it. I got to clean my own house. If the office holder's got to clean his own office, I don't see that as a very big deal. It is kind of nice to have a janitor, and if you can't afford the janitor, then clean your own place. I don't think the taxpayers are going to care very much one way or the other, except for the money saved. The one part of it I kind of hate, though, is the loss of that job. We're at a point where this economy needs every job, every possible job. Now, if this were Madison County, where you've got a rather large surplus sitting in the bank, we've learned because of the controversy over the way it was invested, I would feel very strongly about not laying off anybody you didn't need to, because you need that money in the economy. I don't know what the economic situation is in very rural, very small Calhoun County, and maybe this is the most prudent thing. I'm not in a position to second guess, but that would be my bigger concern, not who cleans the office, but the loss of the job.
I absolutely agree. We're talking about, and in my mind, I try to picture this number of county office buildings or county offices in Calhoun County. It would no way compare with what's in Madison County, a much more populous county, a lot more activity in the Madison County office building than I suspect that there is in Calhoun. But you're talking about somebody who's making $250 a week cleaning offices.
Yeah.
I don't know how the office holders are or how their employees are, but I can tell you that newspaper people by nature have a tendency to be kind of trashy with their desks. We have a tendency to pack rat things like articles and clips and magazines that we're going to get back to, and the worst possible slap you can do is ask people to police their area because they might need that someday. So I don't know that it's really that big of a problem in that you ask people to empty their own trash once a week or something like that. But as Pat says, to lose a job at the county level for somebody making $250 a week, if the county is that destitute, that $13,000 is going to balance their budget or miss their budget, in my mind, they've really got some more problems. I'm sure that there are additional cuts that are being placed here too, but $250 a week to clean numerous offices really is not a lot of money. When you're talking about $50 a day, even at minimum wage, is 7 hours work.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job.
All right, Senator Mark Kirk says we should begin privatizing highways, railroads, and airports. The senator says that we could generate $100 billion in new construction projects. Jim, should we have the private sector more involved in public works projects?
Well, in a way, we already do. I mean, drive down the highway and you see these signs on the side of the highway that says Stuckey stop or Shoney's this way or turn right to McDonald's. Those are all sponsorships of the highway that are contributed to the fund. On the surface, it seems kind of strange that we would talk about privatizing highways and sponsorship rights and things like that. Though I was in Mexico recently, on vacation in Puerto Vallarta, and as we were coming out of the airport, there are overpasses over the 6-lane highway in Puerto Vallarta. For those of you who haven't been in Puerto Vallarta a long time, it's not dirt roads and burrows anymore. There's this overpass over a 6-lane highway, and there are Coca-Cola signs on the highway that I'm sure Coca-Cola pays big money for, and I'm sure that contributes to the funds. It is not the way we've done things in the past, so therefore many people are going to say it's wrong. There will be some people that will have a problem with some of the sponsorships that might come forward. They might not like the idea of certain sponsors having signage on certain highways or things like that. But we can't go on spending like we have in the past. The revenue is not there. I think we've all seen that. The highways are not being repaired as judiciously as they should. The state's broke. The federal money is not there that we've had in the past. And, you know, if Pepsi-Cola wants to sponsor 140 from Bethalto to Alton, that's the route I take every day. There's lots of patching and new concrete that needs to be done on 140. Pepsi-Cola wants to hang a sign, I'll take it, fix the road.
Pat, should we have Pepsi-Cola 140?
Is that what he's talking about? Because I'm not sure. I mean, are we talking about letting him post signs along the road? You know, this portion of Highway 143 is cleaned by the Highland Kiwanis Club. Is that, we already have a certain amount of that. Is that what we're talking about? When he talks about trying to turn things back to the private sector, I've got a couple of thoughts. One of them is, we just had a story in the Post-Dispatch the other day about a little airport in St. Clair, Missouri, I believe it was in St. Clair, where there's an effort by the city leaders to close the airport. There's only 10 or 12 airplanes, something like that, based there. But because they've accepted federal
money... Oh, no, that's Mid-America in Missouri.
It's more than Mid-America. Because they've accepted federal money, they're so tangled up in being... They'll never be able to close this airport. And in the case of a lot of airports and things, you got federal money that went into it. It was publicly owned. To get out from under that element of it's probably going to take an act of Congress, you know, literally. The other thing I don't understand about privatization, and somebody needs to educate me about this, let's go back to the janitor in Calhoun County. $250 a week by Jim's calculation, he made to clean the offices of Calhoun County. The county paid him, he took the money, he was the county's employee, that's fine. Now, how is it that a private organization could clean, and I'm not saying anybody's talking about it, but as an example, so you privatize it. Now you're going to hire a company to clean, and they're going to have to hire somebody to clean. They've got to take their profit out. Which means, are they going to pay him so much less that you can still do it for $250, or can you do it for $240 and you pay him a whole lot less? How do you add in the profit for a private business to privatize something, still have it run as efficiently, and have it cost less? The economic model for that escapes me. I know we have privatized prisons. In some cases, we do have privatized roads, toll roads. I just don't understand, when you apply it more broadly, how economically that can work.
All right. I guess we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Hello and welcome to the Lewis and Clark Minute. Today we're going to check out the radio broadcasting program in WLCA with Mike Lemons.
Have you ever listened to your favorite radio station or your favorite disc jockey and say, you know, I could do that? Or maybe you're the type of person who says, I could never do something like that. Well, with the help of first-year Mass Comm student John, we're going to show you just how easy it is. Each voice intro starts with talking about the band that just played, and we add a station identifier. Next, you want to offer some information that may be of interest to your audience. And finally, tell the listeners what the next song is, who sings it, followed by another station identifier. John will do one live now.
Silver Sun Pickup substitution on WLCA. The Big Pink released their debut album called A Brief History of Love. The single is off that album. It's The Big Pink with Dominoes. It's on College Radio's Best 89.9.
This has been your Lewis and Clark Minute.
What's that? I don't know. Something I kind of made. Ooh, what's it do?
What do I do? Well, thanks for asking. I ring my bell and I like to dance. What do I do? Well, thanks for asking.
Ow! Yeah, it still needs a little work.
anything's possible. Keep thinking. Get started on your own inventions or just play some games at inventnow.org.
Sounds like you could use some Van Gogurt. It's fortified with arch-rich nutrients to improve your math and reading skills. Catch!
Van Gogurt. Thanks. So what's the deal with your ear?
Always with the ear, huh?
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
Welcome back to Metro Talk. Pat, Stiefel Financial in St. Louis has announced it's buying the building where it's currently located and will not be moving to the new building in Ballpark Village. Will we ever see a Ballpark Village?
No, not unless you have economic growth. It doesn't make any sense for me to move from one perfectly viable place to build another perfectly viable place to leave the first one vacant in the middle of what is effectively still a recession. It doesn't make any economic sense at all. New building ought to be based on either greater productivity, if new facilities required for that, I can accept that, or on growth, somebody coming in who wasn't here before. But what we've had here, in fact, was an attempt to tax subsidize people to leave one landlord and to favor another one, to create a hole in one part of downtown to fill another part of downtown that wasn't even developed in the first place. So it seems to me as an outside observer that this is a reasonable decision made by people rooted in the reality of the economy.
I think Stiefel made a wise decision. Just imagine the logistics of having to move a company that size. And yes, it was going to be done with tax subsidies. Otherwise, the new building, the new construction was not going to be a cost-effective alternative for them to uproot all of their employees, to move them to what potentially could be problems with during construction for parking and other things. I think Stiefel did the right thing. I think we ought to get off of this Ballpark Village nonsense and say until there is adequate demand for businesses outside that ballpark for 81 events a year, then stop talking about it. To me, the city fathers of St. Louis were gullible enough to believe that this was going to be an offshoot of them helping to build Busch Stadium with some taxpayer dollars, not as many as was originally requested, and then wanting taxpayer subsidies to build Ballpark Village. Saying to the people that move into Ballpark Village, we can cut your rent in half because we've got all these subsidies over here. We don't need as much money to operate as you need 3 blocks over or 2 blocks over. Mike Shannon can move down the corner and around, and we can cut his rent and move him into a brand new facility. That's not fair competition to the other landlords for existing areas. I have the same problem when cities start talking about subsidizing a strip mall or subsidizing, some other construction. That's not fair to the other landlords that neither asked for nor received any type of special compensation. Ballpark Village is fine the way it is. It's a softball diamond. It's not a mud pit that it was before. And just leave it alone until there's sufficient demand, which I think will probably be never.
Understood. Jim, the Missouri Department of Economic Development ordered items to give away at the Missouri State Fair, but after they opened the boxes and turned them over, found out they were made in China. Is this an issue, and what should the department do to take care of this situation?
Well, Post-Dispatch, I think, was the one that broke the story, and it wasn't the particular matter that they were made in China. It was the fact that they discovered when they were made in China, they paid people to peel all the little stickers off of the backs of them saying made in China. So obviously the Missouri Department of Economic Development thought it was a problem. I don't know what they were. I don't know if they were flashlights or trinkets or jar grippers or whatever they were. There was some type of foo-foo that they give away at fairs to people that walk up to the desks and take all of the little flyers and free stuff. My question would be, is if material like that was manufactured in Missouri, and that's a huge if, by the way, then they should have sought out a Missouri manufacturer. The department said that they ordered it from a Missouri-based company, and they didn't ask where the country of manufacture is. I suspect these little tchotchke things, these little trinkets and stuff, you would be hard-pressed to find any that are made in the United States. If you buy a flashlight at any big box store, chances are very strong that it's manufactured in China or Taiwan or Japan or Mexico. I suspect that these little items, there was no domestic supplier. I don't know that they accomplished anything by peeling the Made in China stickers off the back of them. Maybe they just drew attention to it and they've been better off just leaving them alone. The majority of people that come and pick up those little trinkets at the fair pick up one of everything that's free and then get home and dump it out on a bed and throw away all the stuff that they don't want, and the rest of it goes in the junk drawer.
Might I point out that in this very week, the Missouri General Assembly is in session, a special session, to consider tax benefits of up to $1/3 billion for Aerotropolis, a plan to bring cargo into the United States from China. So maybe this was a precursor. Maybe it was a good move. Maybe it was putting the Chinese people in the mode, saying, you know, if they're giving away our stuff in Missouri, then Missouri is a good place to put Aerotropolis. I don't know. It seems like at some point Americans have to make their peace with the idea that it is a world economy and that we do consume some things that nobody seems to want to make here.
And all the people that say it's worth paying a few dollars more to buy a product made in the USA, I for one support that idea. In many instances, it's not possible. There aren't any televisions made in the United States anymore.
They're giving away TVs or VCRs and had the same problem.
Yeah. All right, that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching Metro Talk. Jim Schrader, the publisher of the Telegraph, has been with us. Also, Pat Gowan, one of the editors of the Post-Dispatch. I'm Tim Albright. Hopefully Kent Shuffle will be back next week. Have a good day.